And welcome back. Now, continuing to watch the story, it is the big story, developing one this morning. Former National Assembly Speaker Nosiviwe Mapisa-Nqakula has handed herself over to officers at the Lyttleton police station in Centurion. Now, she resigned both as Speaker and Member of Parliament yesterday, citing her wish to safeguard the integrity of Parliament. And this comes amid corruption allegations against the former Speaker when she was Defence Minister. Mapisa-Nqakula was appointed as the Speaker in 2021, and she has denied the charges and has said that in her resignation. And she says this resignation, of course, is in no way indicative of an admission of guilt regarding the allegations being levelled against her. So to talk to us a little bit more about this matter, we are joined virtually now by Sandile Swana, who's a political analyst. Sandile, thanks for being with us this morning. You've watched these developments, but first, let's take a look at what has happened over the last 24 hours, because we went from a sort of a chess game, still waiting to see what will happen, to a resignation, and now the former Speaker handing herself over this morning at the Lyttleton police station. So what do you make of the development so far?
Thank you, Sakina, and good morning to the viewers. The developments, especially of the resignation and also the handing herself over to the police, make perfect sense, because that has been the offer from the NPA for a very long time, that she must state who her lawyer is, and that lawyer must facilitate her to hand over to the police.
So as things stand, her resignation coming through yesterday, and we saw that on the back of some political parties demanding the resignation and demanding it sooner than yesterday. Let's talk to that particular matter, if you will, for a minute, Sandile. Should she have resigned the moment that these allegations came about?
If we're to put it that way, it means she shouldn't have taken the post, because the allegations were raised by Bantu Bonke Olomisa, General Bantu Bonke Olomisa, I believe in 2020 already, prior to her being appointed to this position. Number two, she had been accused of using the defense airplanes as a private jets, including smuggling a Burundi woman with false papers, for false travel papers from Burundi to South Africa using the Defence Force airplane. So she was never suited to be in the position in the first place. But again, once the NPA started contacting her, she should have known that the game is up and actually resigned. She has just wasted money and wasted everybody's time by doing what she has done.
So if we come to these allegations and some of the Sunday publications running with the story a few weeks ago, and as you say, prior to that, there were already rumblings. But we also hear that, some of the person who has made these allegations has struck some sort of deal with the law enforcement authorities. And that, of course, is something that has been questioned as well. We don't know what the exact details of that deal may be. But again, your view on that. And it's not the first time, of course, that we hear of deals being struck with some witnesses in order to secure perhaps the arrest and prosecution of others.
Thank you, Sakina. The deal is prudent from the perspective of the NPA, because this transaction, as the comrades often say, there is a bribee and a briber in these situations. Now, if the person from whom the bribes were being demanded, which is Nombasa, now decides to turn state witness on the basis that she will make a complete and sincere testimony of what money she paid and what was the reason and all those details to the satisfaction of the court, that makes the hand of the NPA against Nosiviwe Mapisa-Nqakula very, very strong. So the person who was hands-on involved, who can point details and dates and places and everything, is now on the side of the NPA. It's a very, very good move, and is provided for in terms of the Criminal Procedure Act.
And many South Africans, as I say, it's not the first time that something like this has happened, Sandile, and it is something that South Africans talk about, that they question. You can even see this on some of these social media platforms in terms of her own involvement. And it is said that she has a relationship, if not a marriage, with someone who is in the Defence Force. And she then gets a contract and becomes a contractor of the same Defence Force. Why should she be let off the hook easily? Yes, she is helping the law enforcement authority secure perhaps what may be termed a bigger fish, but why should she be left off?
Thank you. Prosecutors are also lawyers, by the way. So the prosecutor is going to come up against a formidable defense from a Nosiviwe's side. So the prosecutor needs to put him or herself in a position of being able to win, increasing their chances of winning. So in that regard, if getting a hands-on, first-hand witness of what actually happened on your side helps the case, it is up to the judges to then decide other matters. But this is being done in terms of our law. We cannot then say because we want everybody arrested and prosecuted, then we ignore the provisions of our law, and then we don't give our prosecutors a chance to design strategies of winning their cases within the law. And that would be unfair to everybody.
And then why do you think, Sandile, it's taken so long for this matter to finally be dealt with by law enforcement?
It appears from my reading of the situation that it was the turning of this witness that changed the pace of the matter. Bearing in mind that corruption is something that is done secretly, the people are actively trying to cover their tracks. So if somebody says, no, look, I gave Nosiviwe so much money, and with that money she renovated and put 2 extra garages and 3 bedrooms more and this and the other thing, starting to point I gave the money on this date, the renovations were started on that date, and so on. So it gives the prosecutors much more insight when the person is no longer afraid of being sentenced for what she might disclose. So in investigation, corruption is always a secret act. Always people try to cover their tracks. So it makes it difficult for prosecutors and investigators to uncover corruption.
Then the question arises in the Bosasa case, for example, where we saw before the Commission of Inquiry into allegations of state capture, where Angelo Agrizi was singing like a canary, so to speak, and yet we haven't seen much movement. We saw Vincent Smith appear in court, but beyond that, very, very slow movement in terms of moving on the evidence that was given there. Why is that the case then?
The difficulty with your question is that in the NPA, you don't have consistency of competence. In the NPA, you don't have consistency of ethics. So it's difficult to comment in an even way about all cases, because there are people who are making cases disappear within the NPA. For instance, I spoke on SABC about the Nganda case where the architect Minenhle, his case could have been decided, I think, in September 2021, but the case has disappeared, and 702 followed up on the case, and nobody at head office or in KZN of the NPA could account with the whereabouts of that case, let alone a decision on the case. So the NPA is still infiltrated by members of state capture and corrupt elements. So we can't account for all delays in the same way.
And then, of course, there's the matter of the political party, the ANC, which is, of course, the home of Nosiviwe Mapisa-Nqakula. And she obviously informed them of her decision to tender her resignation. But she was, of course, at a point where she had already indicated that she may not be returning to Parliament, or that she would perhaps scale down on her political activity past this administration's work. So what does this mean for the ANC going into a very pivotal election in just a few months?
The event itself, the events including this handing herself over to the police and the NPA and all that today, basically, it adds to the problem that the ANC has had of appointing persons of dubious morality, people who have no proper ethics, people of questionable backgrounds to high office. The office of the presidency was tainted by Jacob Zuma in terms of criminal activities. Now the office of the speaker is tainted, and the only office remaining now is that of the Chief Justice. So it then continues to paint the picture amongst the intelligentsia of South Africa that the ANC is a thoroughly corrupt organization that cannot be trusted with good governance in South Africa. That is what they go into this election with.
And of course, then you have the opposition parties who are generally not known for moving swiftly to capitalize on issues such as these, especially if you take into consideration that this is an election year. Again, their movements and how they've reacted to all of this, what did you make of that whole play?
This particular issue, in terms of certainly the DA has been at the forefront of this. General Bantu Bonke Olomisa has actually been busy with this matter for a very long time. So bear in mind that some of these parties also want to make deals with the ANC at one point or the other. I mean, people like the EFF are all over the show on both sides. I mean, they are chasing with the foxes and running with the hares in terms of being both sides of good governance and bad governance. So it's not going to be easy, but it's an old issue. The issue of corruption and the ANC is an old issue, and it is there. The voters know about it, and I think it has been costing the ANC over time.
Well, Sandile Swana, thank you so much for helping us just wade through some of the details regarding what is taking place this morning. This is, of course, our big story. It is the breaking story and developing story. The former Speaker of the National Assembly, Nosiviwe Mapisa-Nqakula, handing herself over this morning at the Lyttleton police station in Centurion. She was supposed, or at least expected, to go to the Specialized Commercial Crimes Court in Pretoria, but our reporter Kenny Mapanga informs us, and she's now made her way to the Pretoria Magistrates Court, where the former Speaker is expected to appear. So we'll have those visuals for you up. Kenny, just going through the process of trying to get permission for the SABC and, of course, other media houses, I would imagine, joining in there. They are in the queue trying to make those applications. And, of course, we'll keep you up to speed with what is happening at the various locations.